And here we go. Hoc bellorum civilum, double genitive, Macedonibus, plural dative ablative, et omen et principium fuit. So hoc fuit. This was an omen and a principium, which is a beginning, is our genitive of the civil war. This would be dative to the Macedonians. Maliga, nominative, Ciro, adverb, late. Intellecta fraude perdica. Okay, ablative absolute. So Maliga, having understood this fraud or deception of Perdiccas, that's female because fraud's female, and he's understood this Ciro late. Tum quidem, then indeed, or even, quia, because ipsius corpore vis non ad feribata, because force was not brought, that's the passive, against his own body, to his own body. In agmine, so he stood in line, in the columns of where they were drawn up, quietus. Quiesco, it's a past passive and it's also an adjective. So he stood in the column quiet, or calm, however you want to interpret it. Sed mox, but soon, damnata spe salutis. You wouldn't say condemned or doomed in his hope. It looks like he's forsaken his hope or given up in his hope, salutis, of safety. Cum eus nomine, when in his name, quam whom ipsi fecerat rep, who him himself had made king, in the name of him who he had made king, in, with the accusative, in per niciam suum, into his own destruction, abutentus, this comes from abutor, which is to abuse, he viterated, he saw his inimicos, plural, he saw his enemies abusing this, utor, abutor, take, ablative. So he saw that his enemies had turned towards his own destruction in the name of him who himself had made king. And, continuing on, he confugated into a templum. He fled into a temple. And, ne quidem, not even, loci religione defensus, so he was not even defended by the religion, loci, by the religion of the place, or the holiness of the place, and occidito, he was killed, he died. Okay. Chapter 10 of Book 10, Perdica, Perdiccas, Perducto in urbem exercitu, so with the army, Perducto, led in with the accusative of the city, Concilium Principum Viorum habuit. He had a council, double genitive, of the principal leaders, of the leading man, in quo imperium, in which, in this council, ita dividii placuit ut, ita ut are correlatives. So it was pleasing, it was decided to divide this imperium ut, so that, so it was divided ita, thus, so that, the rex, quidem, indeed he would obtineret summum, he would have the highest, the king would be in the top, basically. Satraps, Ptolemus, Egypti esset, okay. So, Ptolemy Esset would have had the satraps of Egypt, the satrap of Egypt, and Africa Gentium, and of the races of Africa. If you want to treat that as a genitive, quae, which indicione Iran, which were in their power, in their control, in their dicione. This word doesn't have a nominative singular used, I don't think, usually. Leamodontai, Syria cum Phoenice dates. So, Syria with Phoenicia was given. This would be dative to Leomedon, whoever he is. That's how you call it in English, Leomedon. And this would probably be dative as well, since the first guy was, to Philotas, Sicilia destinata. It was destined for him or given to him. Lycium with Pamphylia and Maiore Phrygia. Obtinere, the infinitive. And here right at the end we have what's going on. So Antigonus, having been ordered to obtain or to hold Lycia and Pamphylia and Major Phrygia, in Cariam Cassander, and Cassander was ordered to go into Caria, and Menander was Misai. He was ordered to. Well, this is where that's probably plural. These people were sent. Cassander was sent into that, and Menander was sent into Lydia. Phrygiam Minorum, Lesser Phrygia in the accusative. Adjunctam, joined to the Hellespont, Hellesponto, Leonati Provincian esse usurant. So, and they ordered the province. Esse comes from the errata oblique of being ordered, the infinitive. So that was what's going on there. Okay, so the Phrygian Minor, which was joined to the Hellespont, was given to Leonardus. Cappadocia, cum Phalagonia, ceded to Eumenus. Is that his name? Eumenus? Preceptum est. Instructions were given ut that regionem eam, that this region, usque ad trapeziunta, as far as Trapezuia, he should defend, and bellum cum Ariathiae, he should gerorant. So he should wage a war with, what's that in English? Ariarathes. As if the English is any better than the Latin. Solus hic detractabat imperium. That's the imperfect. So he alone detracted from this period. He refused this power. Okay, we'll have a daily dictionary from the All Words download. Detracto, word 662 in the second lot of verbs. So the detracto, to decline, refuse, reject, or shirk from a duty. Okay, back to the plot. Where the hell were we? Python, medium. Lysismarchus, Thraciam. So we're going nominative, accusative. Adpositasque, and something is adpositioned up to Thrace. Okay, so, and the Ponticus, which are adpositors to Thrace. So, we saw these two nominatives, Python and Lysimachus. They were uside. They were ordered to hold, to obtinere these races. Media for him and Thrace, and the Pontic regions up to Thrace. Qui India, so who, the people who were at India, who were in India, and qui, and those who, Bactra and Sogdanos, Ceteris qui, and the rest, Aut Oceana or Rubimaris, either the ocean or the Red Sea, who were Acolis, the inhabitants, praerant. Okay, so these quis are the quis who were praeranting, those who are in charge of India, and those who are in charge of Bactria and all this area, who are of these inhabitants of these regions. Quis qui, each one of these, quibus who habuiseted, quibus finibus, who each had the people who each had these regions, who had obtinerated the power, who had held the power. It was decreed for them to, looks like, keep the land which they'd already obtained. Okay, we've got a footnote in the lobe that says the ocean here is the Northern Ocean, supposed to lie not far north of the Himalayas and Iran. The Red Sea is the Persian Gulf, Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. Okay, where were we? Perticus, ut, so that, cum regaeset, so that he would be with the king. He's the qui, and praereset, he had been in charge of the forces which sequabantor, the NT shows these forces are plural, which accompanied or followed after the king. So Perticus, so that he would stayed with the king, and he was in charge of the forces which would follow the king. Yep, there we go. I'll scroll a bit here. How far are we going? Down to there. Cre didere quidam. So certain people, the pronoun, they creditere, they believe. Testamento Alexandri distributus esse, the provinces. Certain people believe that the provinces were distributed by the will or testament of Alexander. Said Fama, but these reports or rumours, eos re, in this matter, quam, although by authoribus tradited, even though they're handed down by authors or authorities, varnem fuisse comperimus, we've discovered these two have been in the past varnem, empty, So these rumours are empty rumours. Et quidem, and indeed, sues, must be sues opes, so quisquid, each one his own resources, divisus impero partibus, so with the divided parts of the empire, each one to his own resources, ut videbit, as it seemed, ipsi themselves would fundaverant, flow out or extend, usually it means. So it looks like they protect their own part of the world with their own resources. Si umquem, if ever, adversus immodicus cupidates terminus. So if ever terminus, these boundaries, set boundaries, could stand against, if we know what modicus is, it means moderate, and immoderate means beyond moderate, so more to the excessive side. So as if an immoderate desires, so if ever in the face of adversus, these full-on desires, as if terminus or the boundaries would stand, so they're not set in stone, because everyone was just looking out for their own interest. Okay, quippy. So since Paulo ante, a little before, specie, in the appearance or by the appearance of ministri regis, as ministers, with the appearance of being administers under the king or serving under that of a king, imperi alienam procurant. So each single one, we have the gerund looking thing here, of procuring the empires of another. So they would, this is what we're talking about, where these terminuses were not standing any longer. So they started out in the appearance of serving under the king, and they procured the lands of others. Ingentia invaserent regnus. So they invaded, or they went into, and they made ingentia, which means large kingdoms, sublatus, subfero lati tulus, all that you can look up. Curt minim, this is the cause of contests, basically. Cum et omnes, when also omnes, all of them, sent, they were, estem gentes, of the same race, et and by the rest, sui quisque, okay, each one discreti, so their own discretion, or they each had separate from the rest. They each had sui their own, imperio region, they had their own region of power or empire. If you want to slog that out into one decent English sentence, there's nothing stopping you. Said difficuli erat, but it was difficult. Contentos es, to be content. Eo, with this, which, what, occasio obtulit, with what the occasion offered them. So remember, each one was separated from the other regions, from the rest, by their own little regions, but it was difficult to be content with what occasion gave them. Another quippy, so since sordent prima, since the first things, they are sordent, or dirty, or lowly, and which cum majora speranter. So when they hope for major things, the first things they get seem dirty, or lowly, or mean, as they call it. Itaque, and so, omnibus, to all of them, videbato, it seemed, comparative, more expedient, literally comes from the word for not having your feet encumbered, so it seemed more expedient to augere. The videbato is taking his viniv to increase the regna. Okay, so remember, they were all hoping to have majora, to have bigger kingdoms, and to all it seemed more expedient to increase their kingdom than to accipere, than to accept fuesit, what they had. Okay, we're nearly done. Septimus dies erat. It was 7 days, ex quo, from which corpus regis, the body of the king, Jacobet, was lying in solio. This can mean a throne or a BAFTA, but it means in its coffin. Curious, and the curious omnium, the cares of all, taking a nice little gerund, were to the forming of the public state, and okay, from atam, from so solemne munere versus, so they were aversus. So the cares of all of them were aversus, were turned from the forming of public estate, from such a solemn munere. It's a duty, really, the duty of, since it's 7 days since the king was in the ground. That'll do for today.